What's up, and welcome to the Uncle Cyborg Show, where we talk about the biggest topics and our favorite things about video games while keeping it rated E for everyone. I'm Super Nolan Man. Joining me is Matthew Hot Dog Eater.
I did not have a hot dog today.
That is a lie. And we're also joined by the Hyrule King, Bo Mitchell.
That's a lie, boy.
Wow.
What's up? I was
And
trying to do the
today
Hades like voice. I couldn't do it.
It needs a little more gravel. I can't
Yeah.
do it either. Well,
Anyway.
today, on that note, we are talking about Bo achieving that platinum trophy, thereby
me.
completing Hades. And he is here to tell us his thoughts on it in a more fuller version versus the 5 minutes he talked about it several episodes back. So if you saw that, stick around because we've got more for you today. Bo,
Yeah.
Hades. Is it good?
Oh boy. Man. It's been a ride. Let's just put it that way.
All right, that's it, everybody. Thank you for.
That's it.
I have
You
the
can
question
go
of
now.
the week this week, man.
Question of the
No,
week is: should these reviews be longer?
Should they be shorter?
Let us know in the comments.
No, it's a great game. It's a great game. I had a lot of fun with it. I'm gonna get into a little bit more of my hesitations as I go. I think it's a really good game, and there's a reason that it gets a lot of the high scores it gets. And since this is kind of like a mini review discussion kind of thing, I'm gonna lead off with my score because that's what we do here.
Don't waste time.
It gets an 8.5,
Okay,
slightly
a
lower
great
than I
0.5,
originally
I
said.
would say.
Great
That's true
0.5.
because last time you talked about it,
I said it was a
having
9 before.
yes.
Wow, Hades,
Yeah,
you guys messed
there
up.
is a there's yeah, I'm gonna there's a reason.
Reason is you're on the
Yeah,
wrong side of it.
so first off, everything I said originally in that first impressions, I still feel that way for the most part.
Mhm.
You know, the art direction, the gameplay style and like feel of it, the world, the characters, all of the music, really good. Like
Mm.
super solid. There's a lot of fun stuff to see here, and like they give their own kind of feel to Greek mythology. So it's it doesn't look like you would see it in God of War or like even traditional Greek myth. It's got its own feel, and it feels really cool. Uh and it's made by the same people who made Bastion and Transistor. So they've really nailed that combat. The combat feels excellent, and there's a ton of weapons to choose from. Hate the bow. Bow sucks. If you like the bow, what's wrong?
I think I saw that in our comment section last week.
We might have. Yeah.
I'm just messing with you.
the bow suck.
What's
Yeah, hate
wrong
the
with
bow.
these bow fans?
What's wrong with both of me?
That's what people are going to say after hearing that you gave Hades an 8.5. How dare you? Kidding.
What
There's
can
a
I
reason,
say?
Pat.
Yeah,
We're
there's
too
a
real
reason.
here.
Yeah, almost all the weapons feel really good. I personally love Spear. Spear's the goat.
Spear's so good. Love spinning
man.
that spear.
And the spear in particular that's really good is the one where you can charge up the spin and it puts a debuff that does extra damage. You do extra damage to enemies. That spear is gold. It's gold. It's so good. I also really like the shield and the fists. Fists were pretty solid actually. I beat a couple
Nice.
runs with the fists.
Because last time I talked to you, I wasn't sure. It sounded like you hadn't used the fist yet.
Yeah, at that point I had only used the shield, the bow, and
The
the
sword,
sword
and
a
the
little
spear.
bit, and then the spear. Yeah.
Okay.
You have to beat for the platinum. You have to beat Hades with every single weapon.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. Yeah, the bow on that. Thankfully, I will say with the bow, there is one upgrade with the Daedalus hammer that makes it so you can just hold the button. That makes it miles
Ooh.
better, in my opinion.
holding like you'll just keep
It's just
rapid
rapid
firing.
fire. Yeah,
Ooh, you gotta
so
love
much
that.
better. That's how it should
Love
be
a rapid
with
fire
that
bow
stupid weapon.
by default.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. The gameplay is solid. There's nothing wrong with the gameplay. If anybody says there's something wrong with the gameplay, they're crazy. That's what these people are good at. Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and the boss fights are sick. Hades in particular is a joy, and
It's so cool.
He mixes it up. Like it's not always the same fight too, which is really neat.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really well designed boss. Yeah, where I get to the problems with the game is kind of partially the genre, the roguelike elements. Man, so I like some roguelites and roguelikes. I really like Dead Cells. That's probably my favorite one ever. Like ever. It's so well done.
Legendary game.
Yeah. And then there's other ones that I don't really love, like Enter the Gungeon. This wasn't quite as bad as Enter the Gungeon, but had some things that were similar that I didn't really love. I did not like at all that a lot of the RNG was just super prevalent, you know, especially when you're going for the platinum. And that was kind of where I had to make like a judgment call because I don't normally. I mean, you know me, or I say you know me. These guys know me. When I am judging a game, I don't tend to judge the platinum experience with it. I try to be like, okay, here's the actual experiments here or experience. Here's the actual experience with the platinum. I feel like it's such a big part of this game. I have to put it in there as a negative for the actual game, which sucks to do. But like getting the epilogue stinks. And that's I'd say like most people probably want to see that because it's story, you know. So I gotta dock it because you have to get the epilogue. You have to get
like a
7
bulldog tail or ears.
You have to get 7 hearts with with like 6 Olympians. And the RNG to get those sucks. It's terrible because like you'll go up to the Olympian, and some of them you have to get like dialogue to play for it to work. Those ones are the worst. So like Zeus, screw that guy.
Yeah, screw that guy.
Because you get his, and you have to have other gods talk about him. The other gods have so much other crap to say, you'll never hear it. You just won't. Like, give up on Zeus. Yeah, and then there's like a couple other ones. Like Athena's kind of similar. You have to get through a run, and then she might say the line that she needs to say. You have to do a full run to see the line, and she might not say it. That's bullcrap. Didn't do that one. Artemis, similar. You have to get her to talk about Callisto. She doesn't talk about Callisto. You're not getting that 7th heart unlock. Yeah.
That's so frustrating because on top of that, in my playing with the game, it's already not easy to level up the hearts anyways. Like you have to grind
you have to
for them in the first place. Yeah, it takes forever. You have to so you're doing run after run after run. If you had to estimate, how many runs do you think you had to do?
So I forgot to look when I was done, but you can check how many runs you did. I might go in the comments later and say how much I did, just so I can say it.
Rough estimate for now.
I'm getting this.
Yeah, rough estimate for now. It's like probably 50 runs minimum. But that probably isn't even accurate because there was so many times I was like just suiciding to get stuff to happen. Like I'd go as far as the end of Tartarus just to like have a good chance of something to happen, and then I'd suicide in Asphodelos.
So
because it's easy to kill yourself in the lava there. Because there's no I have to say this. stupid design to make the give up button just reset to like it just resets the run. It doesn't like reset fully. It's still the same run that you just started, but it just puts you at the beginning of that run.
Which is so
So it doesn't
silly.
reset the RNG. It's like why do you call it give up?
Quick
Like,
question.
crazy.
I actually never realized that was even how that was working.
That's how that works. You have to die in order for it to change.
So
Wow.
just so I'm understanding,
Yeah.
you needed to, so to get a platinum, you need to have your hearts upgraded all the way. In order to get the heart upgraded, the guy has to say a specific dialogue line.
So, yeah, for some of them. You have to get 6 of them.
No offense.
And
That's just
yeah.
stupid. Where's the
Yeah.
challenge in that?
Well,
Just
yeah,
having to do it again?
and that is the biggest flaw with the game. There's a lot of other stuff that's optional that is like that, and I think they should have kept the optional stuff like that. You know, because that's how Achilles works to get his heart events up. You have to literally have them say the dialogue, and you know, you have to get all the way to Elysium, which is a long way, and they have to say the line, and then you have to go back, talk to Achilles, get all the way up to Elysium. They have to say the line that you want again. Like, keep that stuff in the optional stuff. Like, you know, if I was gonna rate this as a platinum experience, it's a 7.
Oof.
It sucked. But like as a game, I'll be fair. It's a great game. But you know, that's an ending. I have to count that against it. You know, I can't just be like, oh well, you don't have to get the ending or like the epilogue. But most people would want to do that.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a great game, and there's a reason that people love it so much. I think I just really don't love the RNG stuff with it. You know, It's like, man, you could have just like, why do you have to make this extra work for people? You know,
So do you think, if you, once you're, a few months or a half a year removed from all the pain and suffering, do you think it's be something that would be fun to go back and play? Or is it like ruined it for you
so
having
I
to do
will
all this
say,
stuff?
yeah, I will say, even though I'm being negative about the platinum experience, I'm excited for Hades 2, definitely. And I've
Okay.
heard that it's even better, which is really cool. I hope that they don't make the platinum as annoying. But I mean, that's kind of a different like. I'll be real and say like platinum hunting is kind of niche. You
Yeah.
can complain about that stuff all you want, but like that's not what everybody does. So,
Sure.
yeah, it sucks that it's like that, but I'll get over it. I've had way worse. Like it's I'll remember it for sure, but I'm not gonna like
Okay.
have a cow over it like Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah,
I said it.
That game
Hate me.
sucks. That game sucks. That game sucks.
It might.
So, one of your core complaints with
Yeah.
this was how you're getting some of this dialogue. And to kind of piggyback off of that, a conversation that we had off the air was
Mhm.
we were talking about certain spawns that we were trying to make happen. Again, RNG kind of stuff.
Similar to Blueprints, yeah.
Where what and what one of the complaints, which I think is a very valid complaint, is you have basically these triggered events or drops where you have to meet certain criteria to get those things. And once you meet that criteria, you've met the criteria for a chance for it to show up. Which to me is, for someone who again does not
Rough.
like having their time wasted, I don't have a lot of time for video games. That is I feel spat in my face when that happens. Is
I mean, it's rough. Even
how
if you have
common of that?
time.
Yeah,
It's like
how
sometimes you're just waiting and waiting and waiting.
Mhm.
Sorry.
This is the first
Yeah,
gacha
I didn't mean to
roguelike?
cut you off.
You're good. They gotcha road like only if you had to pay to start your run. You know, if you're putting
You got to pay for
quarters
the
in,
game.
well, then they do got us indeed. Is that very prevalent, or was that something you were just running into like with a certain section? How how frequently were you having to put up with that?
I mean, most of the game is set up as RNG. I think that there's just certain parts that are more enjoyable of an experience than
Mhm.
others.
Okay.
But I don't mind the rooms. I don't mind, every room's gonna have a different power or whatever, and you can use some items to like get boons in particular.
Mhm.
That's not a huge issue to get boons. It's an issue if you like want to get if you want to get Zeus and then Ares in the next room, that isn't gonna happen.
Mhm.
But yeah, where it becomes an issue is where, you know, you're going through multiple runs trying to get this stupid voice line to play, and it's just not happening, you know.
Mm.
Can't get over how
And
dumb that
I'll
is.
be kind of honest too. I'm not gonna count this against the game, but the game doesn't really explain how to get the 7 hearts. Like it just doesn't. Like so you have to look it up. You're not gonna know how to do it.
Hmm.
So if you want to see the epilogue, you're not
Go to
gonna get it on
YouTube.
your own. Yeah.
Ex-
Yeah. That's
That's
probably
really
how most
frustrating.
people saw the epilogue, honestly. Like they just looked it up. They didn't want to actually do it.
Mhm.
So
That's very frustrating.
yeah. Yeah, it's too bad. I mean, I think the epilogue's really cool too.
What do you think what do
Yeah.
you think like the reason someone would choose to do that? Why not just have it like, hey, every like how many different
Adding
dialogues do you say like per like for Zeus? Do you know how many different ones he has?
uh I that was something I couldn't get a definitive
'Cause
answer
you
on
could
as
just
well
do
of
each
like
time
how
you
many
get
it
to him, it
takes to
just
get
like
that dialogue to play.
picks up the next one and then it just goes back. So at least it's
Mo-
consistent.
Most of the guides that I found, it was literally like get the Zeus boon and have the gods comment on you having the boon. It didn't say how many you needed or like
Okay.
anything like that, and then yeah, it just kind of triggers. And ironically, after I got the epilogue, I got it to trigger. I was pissed,
Oh. Huh.
but yeah, really dumb. Yeah. You guys have any questions, any thoughts?
As my question is, what do you want to see done differently in Hades 2?
Uh, I think they need to cool it on some of the really frustrating RNG moments.
Mhm.
Because it's just if it doesn't feel good, and it does. I don't think
Mhm.
it's you know particularly innovative. It's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
You
Sure.
know, and you can have a lot of fun dialogue still, but if you like a great example of what is wrong with this system is the weapon like the hidden weapon aspects. I kid you not. So this is not required. This is platinum stuff that I'm talking about now. I had the um the fist weapon,
Mhm.
and I was going to the Minotaur mini boss because you have to do that to get the hidden aspect of the weapon. And there was so many times I had to go to that mini boss, which is also RNG. So fighting the mini boss is also RNG. And then
Mhm.
I had the weapon on me, so the dialogue should have been triggering, but he just he kept deciding that he wasn't going to talk about it. So I'm pretty sure I had to get to that mini boss 12 times until he
Wow.
finally
Oof.
said it. And then you have to get him to talk about it again, which took 7 more tries. And I had
That's
the weapon equipped,
yeah.
which is like yeah, I was pissed. Like yeah, stuff like that where it's like okay, clearly trying for it, and you're just deciding to be a jerk.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
like, don't do that. Like, there's no
Don't do
reason to
that.
do that. Yeah, stop.
Yeah.
Like, were they playing to be like, yeah, this is fun? Like, what, do they want you to play it more? They already
I don't
gave you your
know.
money.
I don't get it myself.
Yeah, so
It should be a guaranteed if you have the stuff equipped.
this is some that I've come
Yeah.
down on with a lot of games, and where I think this is having the most trouble right now across gaming in general is the roguelite space. And that is where the trophy expectations are not realistic for the game that they've designed.
Yeah.
And with this, and you can say similar things for story. I totally understand. Like, the idea of a roguelite is that you play it forever and ever and ever. It's the new arcade game. You
Yeah.
want to get doing another run, another run, another run. So, and you just were, instead of eating quarters now, you're
I
trying
don't
to
mind that within
reward
reason.
with story points and stuff like that, and having things to actually shoot for. So there should be a line, it seems, in terms of what kind of story
Yeah.
content gets locked behind these additional runs, and they continuing to go and try to find these things, but also what should be expected of you to get that mark that says, yeah, you've done everything we expected you to do in this game. If they're expecting you to do every single little thing, it's a little bit broken. And you can have an internal checklist in the game. There's several games that do this. Hades even has a little bit of it already, just not in a very formal sense. But you can have your internal game checklist and have that be separate from your trophy list. Have that in there for the people who want to say, yeah, I did literally every single thing. Like, I want to keep coming to this game over and over and over. But for the rest of
Ironically,
us,
there's some that aren't
let us
required for
have
platinum too in there. So
yeah,
they could
yeah,
have done that,
which
but they just
yeah,
didn't.
yeah. So you have these options of not including things as part of what you are expecting gamers to do. But again, locking certain things behind conditions, and then when those conditions are met, you're still not getting that. Is a very offensive
It's a
dingling of a
risky thing to
carrot.
do if you want to have people keep playing your game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've rage quit games for less than that. um,
Yeah.
so it seems that there's I this roguelite structure. I'm very curious to see how it continues to develop over the next few years, because so far what I've seen is that things are getting they're either
Longer and
staying the
longer.
same or they're getting more egregious in
Mhm.
terms of what they're expecting of the player to do. And granted, we're not getting as much stuff like what was that awful uh which Enter the Gungeon. Uh
That one was rough.
uh there's stuff like that they're not that intense anymore. A lot of things aren't. There are some things that are intentionally like that, but most things are not like that. But it seemed around the time of Hades, like around 2019, 2020, is where things like kind of like leveled up or leveled out, and they said, okay, this is what we're going to expect people to do. And then
Yeah.
things
It might
haven't
just be
gone
that Hades is
better
older
than
and
that.
yeah.
It could be. But it seems that things either stayed right at that level, or they're going a little further. They're not stretching to that really like to the really egregious points, but they're pushing it further and further out. And I'm worried that these are just going to balloon and just become, impossible platinums.
Yeah.
uh,
How much RNG is too much RNG?
yeah, yeah, and locking out entire portions of story and things like that. We don't need to sit with the unless a game has microtransactions. What benefit is it to you for somebody to sit with your game for 100 hours?
Yeah.
But
But yeah, and I think it's just kind of arrogant when a developer puts something in their game that's like a 0.001%. You know,
oh,
it's
ridiculous.
like, what? Like, why are you a jerk? Like, who
Yeah.
dropped you? Like,
Yeah.
what's what's going on with you, man? Like, seriously. Yeah. Easily, yeah. Whenever there's an RNG trophy It's one of my least favorite things as a trophy hunter. Because you're like, oh boy, how long is this gonna take? You know, so
I think they should start accounting for people like you. Hey, someone's gonna want to do this. This does make do the near route where you can just buy buy achievements.
Man, what a
I
time!
don't love that. Yeah. You have any questions, Matthew, or thoughts?
Yeah, let's see. I'm not too big. The only roguelite I've ever actually really played a lot of is Risk of Rain 2, and that one's more fun just because at least to me it's just like it is just like an arcade game.
Mhm.
So do you think something like Hades, this is gonna be a weird question. Do you think something like Hades might be better if they shifted maybe away from something like that? If they try to maybe do a different style but keep the same action, or would you rather just keep it? I know it's a weird question because you're genre flipping, but do you think it would suffer or get better if they maybe switch to just like a pure like action game versus a roguelite?
I think they can keep some of that procedural generation. I think where it can get better is more variation. And then less expecting, like we were saying, like less expecting RNG drops, you know. So I think they have a great baseline already, and the combat is really fun. And it feels good. And from what I'm hearing of Hades 2, it feels even better. So they really know how to get that gameplay feel down. They just need to, I think honestly, they should probably just cut out some of the roguelite stuff. Like, I know that's maybe controversial to say. Like, roguelite stuff to me is it's a little bit gimmicky sometimes.
It's the zombies of
Yeah,
2013, man. Remember, every game was a zombie game. Now everything's got to be a rogue. Flavor of the month.
Roguelikes are pretty in right now. And,
It's true.
they're kind of easy to make in some regard.
Oh, we don't got to design
you
any
can
actual
repeat
levels. Let's go.
Yep.
Yeah. And there can be level design that goes into that, but that's perhaps a discussion for another day. But do you feel like you have said your piece, or do you have any final thoughts for the listeners and viewers back home?
I mean, I guess that's it. I already gave my score, 8.5. So I think I'm pretty set on that. Yeah, I've had way worse platinums, man. Like that's a story for another day. I've had some rough ones. This one it had its moments, but it was more just grind. It was like, just keep playing.
And grind that didn't need to happen.
It was a 9 to 5.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like you're sitting, like,
9 to
putting on a
8.5.
podcast and
Yep.
9 to 8.5. Yeah, I'm putting on a podcast and doing work, essentially, almost.
Yeah.
Your game's failed if you got to put on something else on the side to like make it bearable to do whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think have a built-in feature that puts on.
I had a good time with it. I had a good time with it when it was, not the grind.
For sure. Hades is
I think it's a must play.
How much of the grind?
Sure.
How much Hades, of the grind was for the trophies versus like the actual trying to roll credits?
Most of it was for the trophies.
Okay.
You can roll credits, and I think when I rolled credits,
what counts as what counts as beating Hades?
You beat Hades.
Beating Hades.
Okay.
The
so
boss Hades.
Like you just make it through one run and then it's done. You don't got to go back and do nothing.
Well,
there's more stuff that unlocks. So
if you beat Hades 10 times, then you get the ending.
Okay.
And that's probably where most people stop. And then after you talk with them, you start going into the epilogue stuff that I was talking about.
Most of the bad grind stuff was post the ending.
Yeah, after that. I mean, there is some stuff I was doing within that because I knew that it was gonna be there, and it makes sense to do it as you're doing it. But for the most part, it was after.
Alrighty. Yep. And yeah, Hades, one of my faves. It
It's a
was
good game.
number. I didn't do that. That was 2020 that came out, if I'm remembering correctly. I mean, in an absolutely stacked year for games, it was my number 4. But 2020 might be the best year for games we've seen because that had Ghost of Tsushima, that had Final Fantasy VII Remake, that had Animal Crossing New Horizons, that had Hades. And some days when you ask me, Hades might actually be number 2. You know, it's in that same tier of games. Just above Last of Us 2 is like the one that like is definitively my number 5. Everything else in the top 4 moves around there. But and Hades, what a game. What can they improve on? Well, remember that you can be a part of what we do here by liking and subscribing, and you can comment answering our question. On this episode, we are asking you, what would you like to see done differently in Hades? And if you haven't played Hades, does how are you feeling about the roguelite genre? We'll continue on from that last episode.
Kill 'em.
But hey, if we'd like you to share, we may shout you out next time. And that's gonna do it for this week. Thank you for joining us. I've been Super Nolan Man. We've got Matthew Hot Dog Eater and the Hyrule King. And you have a great week.